At the recent Storage Networking World event, I moderated a panel on the topic of storage hypervisors. We had 4 experts representing a broad range of the vendors in this space, everything from large to small and from established to fully startup. We fully expected to spend much of our time on the specific differences in approach as to how storage hypervisors operate. And I was fully prepared to referee a gentlemanly scrimmage. But we quickly discovered that the generic nature, value and possibilities of storage hypervisors were unclear to much of the audience. And so that is where most of the discussion focused. Figuring that the SNW audience is, if anything, at the forefront of understanding storage approaches, we realized that this meant there's a need to better explain storage hypervisors. I therefore took the opportunity to interview each of the panel, and that has led to this, a series of 3 videos to be published over the next few weeks. Before I turn it over to the vendors' comments, just a few words of background. As the IT industry absorbs and adopts trends like server virtualization, convergence, and now software-defined whatever, there's a growing understanding that finding a way to better orchestrate storage is a crucial component to IT success. While the semantics and actual implementations may vary a little between vendors, storage hypervisors are a promising, indeed proven technology to help address this issue. By making storage assets as flexible as server assets, a storage hypervisor can transform the economics of overall virtualization, delivering reduced costs, greater efficiency, added functionality, and scale. And now for the vendor interviews. Later videos will address what a storage hypervisor is and what the different vendors have to offer. But in this first selection, I asked the panelists whether they've been surprised at the lack of awareness and knowledge of storage hypervisors during the panel session, and what thoughts they had as to why that might be.
I was surprised at actually the lack of knowledge of even just basic storage virtualization.
Yes.
And what amazes me is that, it shows the problem with the mindset and how slow we evolve in our thinking, because it's obvious that most of those people in that room are also working with things like VMware and with Microsoft Hyper-V, so they're already aware of a server hypervisor, right. And yet they've learned all those benefits, and then the construct of storage and storage virtualization or a storage hypervisor is still foreign in their mind. But this is not something new. I mean, our company has been in the business for over 14 years. Tens of thousands of people are already out there using it. Is it safe to use virtualization? And I thought the panel was great by going, you know what, it's like the Nike commercial. It's time, just do it and see the benefits.
And we had several attendees who raised their hands and said, okay, so wait a minute, I'm not following. Have you guys figured out how to move a virtual volume from one disk array to another disk array? And I've been told since that from folks that were sitting in the audience that there was a look of shock across all of the panel members' faces, because that's a tenet of storage virtualization, being able to move a virtual resource from one disk array to another disk array, from one vendor to another vendor, from one tier to another tier, and do it all while the application's workloads that are accessing that data are up and online. So I would have to say yes, that the basic understanding of what a storage hypervisor can accomplish is lacking. I think that potentially one of the reasons that so many storage professionals are not aware of what a storage hypervisor can do for you is because storage hypervisors have the effect of breaking the lock-in that many storage hardware providers have on their customers. And so I think that most storage administrators might have been almost deliberately kept in the dark by their storage vendors about what the capabilities of the industry are around storage hypervisors.
Well, it didn't surprise me. I think it's a term that nobody was really using until maybe a year ago, and even then it was a pretty small number of us inside the industry that were using it. I think, how many people knew what a server hypervisor was in 2002?
Yeah.
About the same ratio, I would say. It just takes a while for new concepts to catch on, and I think we're just very, very early in the process, right? I mean, I do think storage hypervisor is the same as a server hypervisor 10 years ago. How many people could spell hypervisor in 2002? Not many, right? And there were a few people doing it, right? VMware was there. There was basically no other player in the marketplace at the time. So I'm not worried about it. I do think there's a lot of education to happen, and I do think one of the advantages of the term storage hypervisor is that it evokes server hypervisor. People get some notion what it means. This hypervisor thing is really different. It breaks a lot of assumptions that we've had in storage for a very long time about what is the life cycle of a disk, what actually even is a disk, how often do I need to provision and then reclaim storage after I've decommissioned a system. Things that happened relatively infrequently and were relatively unimportant in the physical computing world become everyday operations in virtual machine worlds. And so we need to think very differently about how we build a storage system.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is terminology, because there have been different terms used for the same thing. And really what it is in my mind, and the term I use a lot of times when I talk is the storage computer, but it's a set of function that automates a lot of things that previously had been done manually, like provisioning, like managing for performance, like tiering. And so we talk about individual topics like virtualization, like dynamic tiering, like thin provisioning, and this is sort of a kind of an umbrella, overarching term to define that. What I want is customers to evaluate the technology, evaluate the vendors that can deliver products, and just do it. And at the risk of taking away from a Nike commercial, just do it. And first step to me is storage virtualization, and then get into things like tiering and thin provisioning. But adopt the technology. It's there. It's robust. It's mature. Just do it.